Oh yeah, it was called Dead or Alive Dimensions! Dead or Alive Dimensions was released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2011, between 4 and 5. And it was the first Dead or Alive fighting game that you could play on a portable system. That's right, you could play it while you poo. The game had the most characters in a Dead or Alive game at that point, mostly because it had all of them, and more. For the first time in the series, the boss characters of each of the 4 prior games were playable: Raito, Tengu, Omega, and Alpha 152. Dimensions was sort of a retrospective game, looking back at the first 4 installments, and more importantly, their stories. Although the gameplay is much closer to that of Dead or Alive 4, in addition to regular arcade modes, Dimensions has a full story mode, where it puts you in control of different characters every round to have you experience the stories of 1, 2, 3, and 4 in quick bits. For newcomers, it's a way to get a feel of Dead or Alive, as the story comes with a tutorial as well. For veterans, it's a way to finally get a feel for the story as all loose ends are finally tied up. And this is finally where I get to talk about the story of Dead or Alive. Well, because this game has it all in one small package. For simplicity's sake, I'll be talking mainly about the central story, which is Kasumi's, because over time, she's been shifted to a central point. If you've been watching my DOA video since the beginning, you know that I've already talked about the story of how Kasumi was supposed to be second in line to be head of the clan, and you know how messed up everything got when you realize that Kasumi and Ayane are half-sisters. The reason Raito returned to the village after the 3 children had grown up was that he wanted to learn an attack called the Torn Sky Blast, which was handed down in the clan, or whatever. While Hayate remained injured, the clan's leader and Kasumi's father, Shiden, appointed Kasumi as the newest first-in-line heir to the clan. And now, I guess I can explain that Ayane, little by little, grew very jealous of Kasumi, and how the clan members and higher-ups always treated Kasumi and paid no mind to herself. Ayane was the one who told Kasumi about how Raito injured Hayate, and so Kasumi sets off in a quest to kill Raito to get revenge. Again, this is forbidden in the clan, so Genra, the master of the Mugen Tenshin clan's ninjutsu section, and more importantly, Ayane's foster father, ordered Ayane to kill Kasumi. They encounter each other in mere minutes, but all of a sudden, a helicopter started to shoot at the duo. Kasumi is told to jump on to escape. The helicopter is carrying none other than Bayman and Christie, assassins who work for the Dead or Alive Tournament Executive Committee, or DOATEC for short. They tell Kasumi that Raito is taking part in the first ever Dead or Alive tournament, a gathering to supposedly find the greatest fighter in the world. So, naturally, Kasumi signs up to take part in the Freedom Survivor, the DOATEC cruise liner. Little does she know, Ayane signs up as well, and now she wants to avenge Hayate too, as well as feel the glory of killing Kasumi and getting paid for it. We then learn that Raito was actually working with the head of DOATEC, Fame Douglas. Raito let his body be experimented on in order to become the strongest fighter in the world, quote unquote. Eventually, Kasumi does win the tournament, overpowering Raito and actually killing him, but not without secret help from an off-camera presence. This makes Kasumi, in the eyes of DOATEC, the newest, strongest fighter in the world. So, she's captured, so DOATEC can use her for more experiments. The off-camera presence turns out to be none other than Ryu Hayabusa. Yes, that Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. Ryu sees that Kasumi was kidnapped in the confusion, and as the middle ground in morality between Kasumi and Ayane, decides to take the first steps in saving her, thus setting up the events for Dead or Alive 2. At the start of Dead or Alive 2, Kasumi seemingly goes back to see Hayate, but Ayane confronts her, but then they have a run-in with an ancient being known as Tengu. She tells Genra, and Genra tells her to find Ryu. Fame Douglas seemed to have passed away, so his daughter, Helena, takes the reins and announces a second Dead or Alive tournament, of which she decides to take part in as well. Meanwhile, at the same announcement, Ryu is there and meets a mysterious masked lady, La Mariposa. It's merely implied, but Ryu, I reckon, seduces La Mariposa, for she is actually Lisa Hamilton, a top-ranking scientist of DOATEC. Ryu gets away and, come on. You tell me that wasn't seduction at work. Ryu gets away with the help of Irene, Ryu's friend, partner, and they set off to Doatech Germany HQ, where Kasumi is being held. Kasumi encounters her first clone, which was actually the Kasumi that Ayane encountered in the beginning. This clone from now on will be referred to as Kasumi Alpha. Kasumi Alpha taunts Kasumi, claiming that she's kept Hayate all to herself. This is when Kasumi realizes Doatech has kidnapped Hayate as well. The two fight, only to be interrupted by Lisa, only to be interrupted by Ryu, who brings the true Kasumi to safety. Kasumi, Ryu, and Irene find out that Hayate was revitalized and restored as Project Epsilon, and Kasumi desperately wants to find him.
I have to go. I have to go help him.
Go where? He's long gone. Didn't you see the helicopter taking off?
We can't know for sure unless we go back and check.
You're a shinobi, right? Act like one.
I know what I'm doing. We're just wasting time here.
Use your head. What would going back now possibly—
Kasumi runs off anyway, so Ryu sends Ayane to catch up to her. Meanwhile, a girl training in the woods named Hitomi ends up finding Hayate, who has been wandering in the woods since Doatech HQ blew up. Kasumi and Ryu find Hayate, but Hayate has amnesia and can barely remember his own sister. Ryu claims that basically if Hayate beats the shit out of Kasumi, he'll remember who he is.
I remember.
It turns out that Genra is the one who summoned Tengu, and upon our heroes realizing this, Tengu sends Alpha and a possessed Ayane to fight both Hayate and Ryu. The boys beat up the girls, and after the battle, Ayane is brainwashed no more, and Kasumi is nowhere to be found. Welcome to Dead or Alive 3. Hayate and Ayane both talk to Shiden about the events. Hayate is determined to find Kasumi before he takes over the clan. Ayane snaps, going off about how much of a traitor Kasumi is, and
She's probably consorting with Genma, right?
Ayane has a painful moment, never-ending thoughts about disappointing Hayate coursing through her brain, but Ayane and Kasumi's mother, shows up to comfort Ayane, and begs her to help Kasumi, claiming that the bond in blood they have is stronger than any old shinobi code. I'm okay. While Hayate and Ryu fight the train and Ayane and Irene converse, Irene is captured by Christy to distract Ryu, supposedly the only one strong enough to defeat Genra. While Ryu battles Christy, Genra shows off his Doatech-sponsored final form, Omega, who Ayane, with the help of Hayate and Ryu, finish off quickly. And now we get to Dead or Alive 4, the final main game that Dimensions covers. Helena is greeted by a mysterious man named Donovan, who started out as a scientist in Doatech. Helena starts work on a fourth Dead or Alive tournament. Hayate, and in turn the Mugen Tenshin clan, is now at war with Doatech. Kasumi is, of course, worried that Hayate will get hurt again, so now she's determined to convince Hayate to leave Doatech alone, even if that means ending Doatech herself. Kasumi confronts Helena and finds out that a new Kasumi clone, born with a hatred for all that exists, and the supposed power to destroy everything is about to activate. That clone is Alpha 152, numbered so for there were 151 clones before it. Kasumi encounters 152 and defeats her, and
It's time to go back to the village.
That's it? No, of course not. To tie everything up, a fifth and final chapter was added, and this chapter has you play from Helena's point of view through the entirety of the 4 installments. It turns out that Helena took up the reins of Doatech to destroy it from the inside, fueled with rage after her mother was murdered long before. The question of who murdered Helena's mother is brought up throughout the entire game, and at the end, it's revealed that it was Christy. It's revealed that Helena was the one who set the tower to blow up, and she awaits her reunion with her mother as she stays in the flames. That is, until Zack, a cocky, stinking rich Muay Thai fighter familiar throughout all of the Dead or Alive games, comes in and saves her with his helicopter in a post-credit sequence. In another post-credit sequence, Donovan takes off his mask and puts on Genra's old mask. And that is the end of Dead or Alive Dimensions. And that was also going to be the end of Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive Dimensions was the first Dead or Alive fighting game not directed by Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator and usual director of the Dead or Alive games. He and Tecmo went through various business problems and due to supposed creative differences, left the company. This threw the fate of Dead or Alive up in the air, and Dead or Alive Dimensions, supposedly released for the series' 15th anniversary in Japanese arcades, was actually released to test the waters for future Dead or Alive games. Directors Yosuke Hayashi and Yohei Shimbori took the wheel. Mr. Hayashi is the current director of Team Ninja, the developers of the Dead or Alive games, and Mr. Shimbori went on to direct Dead or Alive 5, which explains why the focus shifted more to gameplay refinements. It also explains why Dead or Alive 5's story mode also has a timeline format, jumping from character to character. Before I start Dead or Alive 5's story, closing thoughts on Dimensions. It's the best portable fighting game I've ever played. All the characters, all the features, it's jam-packed with content, and it isn't too hard to find on a 3DS. I wish they had a downloadable copy available, but then again, something is better than nothing. So I'll just keep it in my 3DS all the time to practice. I do recommend picking this up if you are a true new player to DOA. The tutorials will ease you into the gameplay and the story, and it'll bring you right up to speed, where you can pick up 5 last round. After playing those, if you really like the series as a whole, you won't regret picking up each of the games where you can. You know my heart lies in 4, but feel free to find your favorite. The series has grown so much in 20 years, and it can only get better from here. Now, let's finish this off with Dead or Alive 5's story mode. Dead or Alive 5's story starts 2 years after the events of Dead or Alive 4, with Kasumi asking Helena where Alpha 152 is. Helena has built a new Doatech from the ground up, and Donovan has created a new organization from the old Doatech known as Myst. Zack now works for Helena and brings Hayate to the Freedom Survivor. Kasumi storms off in an attempt to hunt for 152. We're introduced to a character named Rig who has no idea who he is. He was supposedly born and brought up in the oil rig he works at along with Bass Armstrong, Tina Armstrong's father. Also, Tina's best friends with Lisa and La Mariposa, and I kinda just wanted to go full circle there. I'm sorry. Donovan has been working on different Alpha clones in the past 2 years, and is ready to start Phase 4 of his plan. Making more clones! Donovan also asks Lisa to see how Miyako is doing. Miyako is Kokoro's mother. In fact, we learned that Kokoro's father is none other than Fame Douglas, as Fame had many mistresses, it seems. This makes Kokoro and Helena half-sisters, the main reason why the two had a dramatic moment in Kokoro's DOA 4 storyline. But Kokoro, sadly, is none the wiser about any of this. Helena, Ryu, Hayate, and Ayane all meet to discuss Donovan's plans, his creation of Myst, Phase 4, and his profit-driven motives. Christy, Lisa, and Miyako, who we now know is the head of Doatech in Japan, are all in on Phase 4. Kasumi ends up fighting and defeating Alpha 152 on the rig, but seemingly reverting to the Shinobi Code, Ayane and Hayate find Kasumi on the rig and kill her. Ryu comes and lays Kasumi to rest, and Ayane and Hayate try to stop Phase 4 in the labs, only to find Rig waiting, who seems to be working for Myst. Hayate gets captured, and Ayane runs back to Ryu, who knew all along that Kasumi all along was a clone who was instilled with the beliefs that she should destroy Alpha 152. The true Kasumi in the entire game was hiding far away, but in no time she springs into action at the rig, where she, Ayane, Ryu, and Hayate defeat Rig and the final form of Alpha 152. They all reconvene on the Freedom Survivor, Ayane and Kasumi finally put past their grudges, and the fight to defeat Donovan begins as the story to Dead or Alive 5 ends. A post-credit sequence reveals that Rig is actually Donovan's son, and That's it. That's honestly it. I've covered everything about Dead or Alive. Oh yeah, the controversy! Oh. In Dead or Alive Dimensions, there's a model viewer. You could use that model viewer to look up Kasumi's skirt. That was sort of a big no-no in Nintendo, and Australia seemed to have reclassified it as an M game, and yeah, controversy. And that is my final word on Dead or Alive. Every game, every chapter, everything. It's all done, and I can finally put Dead or Alive away and focus on other things. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Dead or Alive is finally dead to me. Right?